bring you a sense of community? Do you feel like people are trying to force you to take a side in this silly culture war? Does your media have you feeling too conservative, too woke, too religious, too heathenous, not enough whatever, like a freak? That's because you're not a caricature. You're a real person. You're messy, and you don't fit into a box. Good news, we're freaks too.
Would you like to melt your stress away? Get connected to a community of other misfits? Maybe listen to the misfits? Stop feeling like a lonely outsider surrounded by people trying to enlist you in a war you want no part of. Become a contented member of a community that requires only that you live your best life and leave others to live theirs.
Feel a sense of belonging while opting out of the culture war. This is Peace Freaks. How is everybody doing today? Welcome to episode number 91 of Peace Freaks. I am your host, Nikki P, here as always with my lovely wife and co-host, Lizzie. How are we doing there, baby?
We're doing.
Are you doing well?
I keep doing. I'm going to keep doing.
Okay. I think that's about all any of us can ask right now.
Yeah.
Life is a little weird, a little janky, and we're just all trying to kind of kick through the weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope all of you are doing fantastic out there. And as for the foreseeable future, I'm going to try and continue making this happen as long as we can. I will be the first to say my particular industry is definitely going to be affected by this. And when I eventually, quote unquote, get laid off, I don't see any money being there for me personally. So, when it comes down to bills, I got to worry about keeping a roof over the head. So, unfortunately, the internet and power are going to go first. So, keep that in mind. If you stop hearing from us, I don't know, find an email or something. I'll still get stuff to my cell phone. Maybe we'll do episodes from the cell phone, Liz. I don't know.
There we go. We'll go low tech with it.
Low tech indeed. Lizzie is going to be lucky as a proud member of UPS. You are going to be working for the foreseeable future. If they stop you guys, we got bigger problems than anything.
Yeah. Hopefully people still need to ship things. So there you go.
Well, I mean, if you guys stop, that means the trucking industry stops, which means we're all fucked. So our lovely Irma is surprisingly almost oblivious to things.
Well, that is what the magic of being a child. She can just kind of, I don't know. Still got mom and dad. It's all good.
Or is that the magic of being homeschooled? Nothing's
maybe that
changed
too.
For her.
Yeah.
You're like trying to explain it, and I don't think she gets most of it. I think she gets more of it than I probably give her credit for, but
yeah,
not everything for sure. So, I mean, how are you feeling there, babe?
It's really interesting because it is on a certain level kind of, all that personal growth stuff that we've been talking about and trying to take responsibility for yourself and try and decide who you want to be. I mean, this is in some way the crashiest course in what you're made of right here. So there's definitely some silver linings in that. And, I think there are a lot of people out there who are making some real life decisions about who they want to be going forward. And hopefully they're good decisions that'll move them in better directions in the future. So if you found yourself unprepared, hopefully you're deciding how you're going to prepare yourself for whatever comes next.
God, I hope people are getting prepared. We were unprepared, completely unprepared. We've been working on the whole making ourselves better, which has for us been trying to get rid of a lot of our old debts from, we'll say, like the pre-Austrian, involved in the liberty movement times, and we're getting close. Oh God, if only this had lasted another 6 months to a year before this happened. We'd have been perfect. But that's not what the universe has in store for us, apparently. Apparently it's saying we want to make things interesting for you.
Well, there we go.
I want to find the guy who said, "May you live in interesting times" most recently. 'Cause seriously, fuck that guy.
I see.
I would punch him in the jaw, and I'd just throw the nap out the window on that dude. Like, you're the guy that did this. Thanks for the interesting times.
you wished it on you, huh?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Because that's not actually meant to be a good thing. I'm pretty positive that's meant to be a bad thing.
Well, I feel like in a lot of ways it can still be what you make it, and so I'm hoping and praying for good to come out of it, and in some way, shape, or form.
Well, speaking of good, we have an interesting guest on today's episode, and today's guest is actually a presidential candidate. Are you excited about that?
About her being a candidate? I mean, it's definitely a different angle for the presidential ticket. Like, I don't think there's a lot of other candidates like her out there, so.
I'm going to butcher the shit out of her last name.
Okay.
But Sorinne Ardeleanu.
Okay. Hopefully that's close.
I've been spelling it wrong for like the entire time that we've been talking to her, so there's that. Might as well pronounce it wrong once before we do the episode.
Okay.
If you didn't catch the live stream, we actually ran this one since why the hell not? People are looking for content, and we're people are shut in. We figured we'd give it out, whatever.
Yeah,
Hopefully, bring some new eyes to the community.
Yeah.
We're all about the new eyes.
Help make your life interesting for a minute.
You know what we're not about though is the Five Eyes.
No, I don't know what that is.
That is the collective security agencies between the U.S., Britain, Australia, France. I think there's another.
I've never heard that terminology before. That's
it's basically all their CIA's trading information.
Right. I get the idea.
So you know about like the worst thing ever.
Right.
But yeah, it was a fun conversation. I knew it would be when I heard her on the Lions of Liberty, and I'll say that in the episode. It did not let down. I'll say that.
Very, very cool.
So hit this song up, and then we'll see what happens next, folks. We'll see you on the other side and all that. Welcome, Sorinne, to Peace Freqs. I'm Mickey P. here with Lizzie. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited to be here with you two today.
Are you really wonderful? Because with everything that's been going down, I have difficulty imagining anyone's quote-unquote wonderful, but maybe.
Well, it's relative. I've been so inspired, actually. I have a rough draft of another article I'm going to publish today to help others, and I just published one 2 days ago. It's like, I feel like this is my time to really serve people and to add value because I've been working on myself for so long. It's like, oh, great. There are people who are actually going to listen to me now because they're looking for answers, and I can give it to them without asking them for anything in return. So it's, for someone like me, like, yes, I'm aware of what's going on, but I also see this as an opportunity to do good and to help others.
For me, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to dodge bullets, I guess. And Ohio's kind of weird right now. We were ground zero for things getting shut down, so it's just been very odd, to say the least.
It is all kind of weird. I'll agree with that.
So I first heard about you. I was listening to the Lions of Liberty, and you were actually just someone who was asking questions when I think it was during Mark Claire while he was giving his talk at the, I believe it was the LA LP convention. Does that sound correct?
Yes, the California State Convention last month.
And it was, I'm going to be honest, the first thing I think is, man, that is some awesome new agey stuff coming out of this person. Like, I don't know how much of it I buy, but I'm enjoying the concept. I did a lot of comparative religion study in college and philosophy. Like I've had ethics minor from college as well. So for me, like I've just always been fascinated by that. One of the things I've always been a soapbox on personally is why you take a look at science and religion, and they satisfy the same anthropological need for human beings in a lot of ways. And so I always get a little testy when like I'll have atheist friends look at Christian friends or of religious friends in general, and just try and give them the you guys are all lunatics. Nothing you believe in is real. Only science is real. Meanwhile, I like to use physics as the example, but it's like no matter how good your equations are, they never are 100% reality. Like you have to continue editing them to take in more factors and more factors and more factors. They're both giving you an illusion and an image of reality. So what you were talking about with Mark Claire was just so right up my alley that I'm immediately like I'm like my day job. I'm like furiously trying to find you on Facebook. Who is this person? I've never heard of him before. And it aside from the spelling of your name, I did eventually find you, and you were here, and I'm excited about this. Why don't you tell me more about this fantastic world that you've you stumbled upon?
Sure. Wow. Thank you for sharing that background. It inspires me more, and it makes me even more grateful to be here. So I have spent the past decade of my life correlating universal truths, specifically from a theological perspective and a scientific perspective, studying various religions, back to Zarathustrans and Rosicrucians. Yesterday and today I was reading from the Bhagavad Gita, and also like studying quantum physics, quantum mechanics, metaphysics, biology, chemistry, and realizing that they essentially say the same thing, but using a different vocabulary. And so I was trying to find the places that they overlap. And when I say I've spent the past decade doing this, I'm not saying this lightly. I've been doing my own thing for the past decade. And this is what I've been doing. I haven't had to answer to anybody else but myself. I wake up when I want to. I go to sleep when I want to. I do what I want to and how. So you have to understand, like, this has become like my job.
How do you manage to get that job? Because I want that job.
Well, you start with a really rough childhood, and you start with some, messed up values, and you start chasing money, and you start making a lot of money, and you end up on disability with decent savings.
Is that the pictures of fancy cars on the website, on the Facebook?
Yeah. I mean, I got to a point in my life where I didn't know why I was here. In 2012, I had hit bottom emotionally. On paper, I looked like I had it all. I did all those things that everybody told me I was supposed to do to be happy, and it nearly destroyed me. And that's when I really started changing. 2011 was when I started studying, reality, the nature of reality, but I was still, it wasn't a straight path up.
Never is.
Up and down, up and down. And now it's a lot more steeper and more direct because I have a very solid foundation. Understanding life is what gives me peace, what gives me courage, what gives me discipline. So, it's making decisions, along the way. Like, I'm an only child and I grew up really poor. And so I knew no one was going to take care of me. So I started investing in the stock market when I was 21. Even just like $1,000 a year, whatever I had, I put in the market. And when I started making more money, I put more in the market. And I never sold any stock for like 9 years. I just kept putting more money in. And the stocks I chose split. And I had one stock that was making 4,000% in gains. I followed my intuition. And so I did really well in the stock market. And when I went on disability for a few months was when I reprioritized my whole life and realized, all I need is food and shelter and love. And when you look at your life that way, there's so much you can do with very little money. And so that's, and I've been able to thrive and heal myself and help others during this time. And so it's been a really wonderful journey. And everybody goes on a journey like this that are seeking peace in their life. It doesn't necessarily look the same. The time frame isn't the same. Some people do it quicker. Some people do it, it takes the whole lifetime. There's no right or wrong. But I feel like we're all kind of naturally inclined to understand life.
I like it. Are you over there like your head ready to explode yet, Liz?
No, I'm actually I'm really kind of feeling a bit of a resonation with what she's talking about because obviously not the money and the lifestyle, but I did at one point kind of think I had a really good handle on what life was about and sort of had all that broken down. So that idea of starting from zero and sort of rebuilding yourself in a way just as a seeker of truth. It does kind of resonate, and I do feel like there are a lot of people who are finding themselves on that journey.
Well, and I think a lot of people are about to start that journey now. Let me tell you.
Yes, they have the time.
Yeah. Hopefully more of them than not. Let's put it that way. So there's more to the story than just what you're into. What was fascinating to me is, so why does anybody with like those ideas decide they want to run for president, and why the Libertarian Party at that? I mean, I've heard stories about like the like California libertarians and stuff. So I don't know. Is it just that?
Well, no. Well, so first of all, I don't feel like I actually made a decision. I felt like I was forced into this path. Essentially, about 20 years ago, I had this realization that if I wanted to make a positive impact in the world, because I'd been through all this pain and I didn't want others to go through the similar pain and suffering as I did as a child, especially. I wanted to prevent that. And so I realized the only way I could possibly do that is if I'm in a position where I can influence people's values. And I thought, who can do that more than anybody else, and I saw it as President of the United States, because that is somebody who's considered an authority figure, and that is somebody that people listen to. And I have a background in psychology, so I understand how our behaviors are influenced. When we are listening to somebody that we are fascinated by or somebody that we have faith in, we are more receptive to considering their ideas, and their behaviors influence our behaviors at a subconscious level. That's why, whoever the president is in the country will essentially kind of set the tone for how the rest of the country behaves. If we have a respectful president, we're going to have fairly respectful, citizens. If we have a disrespectful president, we're going to have fairly disrespectful, citizens. So I realized I'm going to have to do that. But I didn't really want to do it back then. And it was kind of on the back shelf because I realized, again, this was 20 years ago. I was, just becoming an adult and I wasn't quite ready for this. But about 10 years ago when I, was off of disability and on this journey of seeking truth, I just started getting these, I don't know, call them visions. They're not visions because I actually have aphantasia. I don't have a mind's eye, so I don't see things the way people do when they close their eyes. But I started having these feelings that I interpreted as visions that I was supposed to run in 2020. And I didn't tell anybody because I thought, it's kind of crazy. And why me? I have a history. I'm not perfect. I'm coming from nowhere. And then other people that I never told started telling me that they saw this about me as well. And I tried to shut it out. And I started experiencing physical and psychological diseases in my body in the past few years by resisting. And so I realized, I have to try. What do I have to lose by facing my greatest fear head on? The best thing that can happen is that I free myself and I free others and I help heal people and unite people and I help elevate consciousness and make the world a better place. And the worst thing that happens is that I face my greatest fear and I realize it's not so bad and I inspire others. So to me, I realized it was a win-win. And all these doors just started opening in this direction for me and I started seeing a very clear path. And so I realized I just have to do this. I can't not do this. I can't go back to the life I used to have. Yes, I used to make crazy money. I used to party with rock stars and travel around the world and, stay at 5-star resorts, overwater bungalows. I've lived the life. And to me, that doesn't seem attractive anymore. I couldn't do that again because I know better. I know that I have something to offer that nobody else that's running for office has to offer. And so for me to hold that back and to not even try, I feel would be very selfish. And I've never regretted anything in my life, but I feel like this would be the one thing that I would regret. And so here I am, I'm just doing my best. And it's not about me. It's about the collective. It's about doing what's right for the greater good. And that's been my path to running for office. As far as libertarianism, that was a very difficult decision for me to make because I hadn't been party loyal. But what I realized was that my life, when I looked at how I had been living my life and how I treated others, especially since I started understanding the nature of reality, my values were they mirrored the Libertarian Party platform. Because that was the speech that you saw me giving. I was talking about natural laws and libertarian platform and how these are very complementary. And so I realized this is the party for me. And I actually became a lifetime member of the California Libertarian Party that weekend because I had finally felt like I found my home. This was the party of love, logic, and liberty. And that's actually become my platform now.
I mean, you're not going to pull a Gary Johnson where you say I'm here to stay, and then, you're gone in 6 months.
No.
Not a Gary Johnson, Bill Well. It's the Bill Well.
Yeah.
I like
but I know what you're saying. I mean, I don't have a choice. It would literally destroy me.
I'm not a party member right now myself anyways, because I've kind of personally checked out of the whole political game. I've not seen it do much good, sadly. I'm not sure what will work and what's really going to resonate with people, but maybe it is this vision that you have. I'm curious, what would be some things that you would since you are running for a political office, what would be some policy that you would actually like to see happen?
I really would like to see, people treated equally. And not, essentially let people do whatever they want to do in their square foot of space as long as they're not bothering anybody else. That's a really big part of who I am, and that's a big part of the platform.
It's a big tough thing for a lot of people to swallow, though, because we got to go out there and kill those Nazis and get them out of all the woodworks, even if they own it.
But see, there's I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. There's this old original Twilight Zone episode that I really like. And it's about this guy that goes to work and he's really miserable. He hates everyone around him. And I forget the details exactly, but somehow he's able to change the world to make it the way he sees fit. And what he does is he gets rid of all the other people in the world. And he gets really lonely and he realizes, okay, this isn't going to work. So then he brings everybody back and he makes them just like him. And then he's really unhappy because he realizes what a jerk he was. And so the next time he brings everybody back and leaves them alone and realizes that he's the one that needs the change. And so I share that because a lot of times we think that if we can control and change things that are out there that we'll be happier, but we're never going to be satisfied until we work on ourselves. And that's been part of my journey, is learning to be content, learning to be satisfied, learning to be enough inside here. Because I can't control what's going on out there. That's why I can stay calm right now and positive and optimistic, is because I know that my base, my security is inside me. I know that as a human being, that this life that I'm experiencing right now, it's temporary. So why not make the best of it? Why choose to suffer? Why choose to be angry? Why choose to get upset by what somebody else is doing when I can choose to feel good and feel satisfied and feel inspired?
See, I don't panic because Douglas Adams told me not to. The Hitchhiker's Guide, like it says in the cover, don't panic, and I take that to faith.
Whatever works for you.
So we like to pretend that we are still a music podcast. We're more of just like a freaky podcast. I want to bring on I just want to bring on outliers and interesting people because I consider myself one of those, and I like talking to them. This is definitely not like most of the shows we've had, which I'm excited about. Hopefully this will be a marked change. So, like I said, we used to be a music podcast. So one of the questions I send to people when I'm trying to set up interviews is, what's a song with like a political importance that means something to you? And you chose a really good one the first time. Like when you sent it to me, you said The Logical Song by Supertramp. Now, the political message on that is all right. I've mused on that one before. It's a great song regardless because Supertramp is the shit. But you sent me a new one today that I'm actually interested to hear your take on because I was a little confused at it at first. I have to remember I'm talking to California people, so that was always going to like be on a scale. I'm a good old boy from rural mountains and stuff, so I kind of. What would you say, Liz? I'm kind of like the leftiest good old boy in the world, maybe.
Sure, why not?
I'm too impossible to pigeonhole, so this is all weird to me. But it was an interesting song. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the song that you brought up today?
Sure. And before I do, I should clarify, I'm from San Francisco, which is a different, a whole nother world compared to Southern California and Central California. I chose a song by Madonna. And, the title actually is very off-putting, but it's very political. It's called Partying with Killers. And it's not typically language that I would use, but there's a very powerful message behind it. And I had the opportunity to see her perform this song in November in San Francisco. And I was completely blown away because I thought Madonna was just going to be putting on a pop show. And I realized like she's an activist. She understands how powerful she is as an artist and as a creator, and she's using her platform to elevate consciousness, to evolve humanity. And so the song Partying with Killers is and I'm sorry, I think that's what it's called. Yeah,
yeah, no, that's
I know the lyrics.
Yeah.
I know the lyrics. And to me what it represents is, being one with all life. She talks about, being gay if the gays are burned, being Africa if Africa is shut down, being poor if the poor are humiliated, being children if the children are exploited. She says, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know what I'm not. And, she says, do you know who you are? Do you know when to stop? Right. And the thing is, like, it's such a powerful message because she's talking about your pain is my pain, that we're all connected. And the title of the song, at least the way I interpret it, is that, there are people out there that are celebrating harming others. And ultimately, it catches up with them. And so we have to stand up for one another. We have to stand up for those who are suffering, for those who are being exploited, for those who are being incarcerated, those who are being raped, literally and metaphorically. We can't turn our backs on these people. We have to stand up for them and realize that they're part of our human family. And from a quantum physics perspective, since you're familiar with this, everything is energy. I can't have a single thought without it influencing the entire field, right? And so that's why I choose to have positive thoughts. I choose to speak positively. I choose to do positive things because I know this has a ripple effect. Are either of you familiar with the double slit experiment?
It sounds familiar, but elucidate, since my guests probably don't.
I won't, yeah. Well, I won't go too far into it. So essentially, when we are observing wave particles, they behave differently than when we're not. Right? Just observing something changes its behavior, right? And so that's how powerful we are. And the nice thing about being alive today in 2020, I know you say some of the things I say sound new agey, but they're absolutely not. We have MIT. They have now, in the past year or two, they have like some kind of machine that they hook up to your brain that predicts your thoughts like 10 seconds before they even ask you a question. And I think it has something like a 90% accuracy, right? So we now have this technology to prove these things that we don't see are real, and we can measure them, right? We can observe them, we can compare them, which is what science is based on.
Well, and I say new agey not even in a derogatory sense, because I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday, in particular about one of the things that came up was the simulation theory. And one of the things that fascinates me is that how many people across the board could buy simulation theory? It's a very unique unifier between atheists and Christians alike, because there's a framework in both senses where that works. I think that the scientifically minded people would probably say it's some kind of game player that would be the quote unquote eye of the system, whereas I'm assuming the Christians would sit there and say, well, that's just God. This is the simulation God created. And that's why, everything, you line the Bible up the way you want it to line it up to that, to make it say, he just created the simulation. That's why it all does that. So it's very interesting. I don't mean New Age necessarily in a bad sense. I think that I like New Age as a way to describe things that kind of just walk outside conventional thought. And I like things outside conventional thought. I'm not a very conventional person. So when I say New Age, that's really what I mean. And when you start talking about love and caring about people, unfortunately, that's I think why it carries the derogatory sense, because that just seems so quaint. When you look at the world around you, you look at what our government does to other nations, you look at, what our government does to its own people. The highest incarceration rate in the world is right here in the most affluent country in the planet. It's very frustrating. So
there's something I want to add, actually, and I realize I went a little bit off topic.
No, you're good. You're good.
Policy.
We're all very confusing. This is perfect for the show.
Well, I'm inspired, and there's just so much to talk about this. So let's talk about love really quickly. There is another institute called the HeartMath Institute, and they use a scientific method to measure the power of love. And this is yet, something else that is happening in this day and age that wasn't happening, as much in our parents, grandparents, and so forth, age. And so we're actually seeing that love literally is the most powerful form of energy in the world, right? And we know that thoughts can transfer, faster than the speed of light. Right. So it's interesting to consider. And unfortunately, we live in a system where there's a lag between adapting, when we learn new things and letting go of the things that are no longer true. But if we look at, historically, we're always doing things differently. But there are always people that are ahead of the curve, and there are always people behind the curve. And then you have the middle. Right. And that's really getting them to move forward is the challenge. And that's, part of the reason that I'm running for office is to move people forward, because we've been stuck in this place for so long that doesn't work anymore. And it's actually destroying life. War does not create peace. War just creates more war. We literally reap what we sow. Whether you're planting seeds of love or acorn seeds, what you're going to get, right? So why do people think that we can plant seeds of hate and fear and reap something else?
Well, 15 years of indoctrination would be my guess, but whatever.
Well, there's hope, we just have to educate people.
How's it going? This is Nikki P, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by our neck of the woods. I sure hope you enjoy listening to Peace Freqs as much as we enjoy making it. Now, as much fun as it is right now, I know it can be a lot more fun, and the way to make it more fun is to grow that community. Unfortunately for us, growing anything organically on the internet is a thing of the past, and as much as I'd like to dump Irma's college fund into growing the show, that would make me a bad parent. So if you want to help create a bigger, more badass community, stop by upgradetheshow.com. We have monthly and yearly fiat options and one-time and yearly crypto options. But don't go thinking an upgraded community is all you're going to get. All patrons of the show get access to the Freedom Choir, chock full of bonus shows, and our Zoom link to watch our interviews live. So head over to upgradetheshow.com and help us upgrade this freaky little community. Well, and those are things that, like, what does it mean to educate people? Because for me, that would mean get the hell out of the way and let people go out and participate in the world. And I think the world itself will send you a certain place if you take the major power structures out of it. That's one of my biggest frustrations with what we're going through right now is just looking at the way that I think everyone's waiting for a strong man to come in and save them. And I'm pretty positive one is going to present themselves. I'm pretty positive I know who that strong man's going to be when it happens. And I don't see it.
Woman.
Oh, well, no, it's going to be a man. Because if it is who I think it is, there is a very specific name in my head. But we won't say it because I don't want this video demonetized or whatever hell it's going to be when it is. I don't want it to be memory hold is probably a better term since we don't make any money off these. But, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to think that, power is what people are trained to look to, I guess. And I would like them to look more towards the people around them and look towards the connections and look towards, what's, like you'd say, the love that they have that they can tangibly take responsibility for. For me, I've got my wife, my daughter, and I've always made it a point that my friendships are very important to me. Like all this week, probably even before things have been going, I've been making a point to at least text, if not call, everybody on my phone to be like, hey, everyone's cool. We're all weathering this. We're here for you. And likewise, most of the people I have around me have all been much the same way. So I think I've chosen friends good in life. I hope others have done the same. So I'm curious, where is this Heart Math Institute from? I've never in my life heard of that, and it's a very interesting idea to me.
You will have to look them up.
Okay.
I know someone that works with them, but I don't know them personally. Like I've just seen some of their scientific research. I'm like, this is awesome. They show how energy works and how love works. But yeah, I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. I think it's important for us to know what's out there and what's happening and to consider these various data that we're coming up with and test them out. I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, don't just believe somebody or disbelieve somebody. Test out, wholeheartedly what somebody is sharing with you and find out, like, does it really work? I mean, this whole thing, my life makeover, whatever you want to call it, it came from me beginning this journey with, well, if these things that I'm learning aren't true, what's the worst that could happen? I'm a better person and I treat people better. But what if they are true? What's the best that can happen? I have an amazing life.
Yeah.
And I really feel that that's what I have, that again, no matter what's going on out there, I feel complete. And I want others to feel that sense of completeness because I know that we all want that. And it's not something we can buy. It's not something someone else can give us. It's, you're talking about education. And yeah, it's something that we observe from life. And the challenge that I have right now in this country, especially, I'm big for liberty, especially as a libertarian. But to give somebody freedom that has never had it before, without guidance, without healthy and positive role models, can be very dangerous. Right? Like if all of a sudden all the laws are gone tomorrow.
Well, freedom in itself it requires responsibility, and that's something that most people have not really ever had. Like it's dangerous. Are you an environmental person at all? Like you're
Sure.
the reason.
I mean, I believe, we're part of the earth, we came out of it. We need it to survive. Yes.
Well, the reason I ask is I host with my friend Ben a show called Free Market Screen Earth. It's a free market environmentalism podcast, and we kind of talk about the issues that they're presented. We talk about the climate crisis and things like that, or climate crisis as it's called. We would actually take a different tack on that. But I'm kind of curious. Just this pops up right as we're talking about people and love and all this stuff. I just got an image he sent to me that we'll probably be talking about at the show at some point, and it's this Thomas Schultz person. It's a Twitter thing. It says, "Wow, Earth is recovering. Air pollution is slowing down. Water pollution is clearing up. Natural wildlife returning home. Coronavirus is Earth's vaccine, and we're the virus." I don't know how anyone who looks at humanity that way, I don't I don't know how to talk to somebody like that. It frustrates me.
Well,
do you think people like that can be reached?
Well, somebody shared something like that with me beforehand, and I thought, that's an interesting perspective, right? Because back to reaping what we sow, right? We don't only reap what we sow individually, but we reap what we sow collectively, and we reap what our forefathers sowed as well. And that's why we have to be conscious and intentional about the seeds we're planting today for our children and for future generations. And so, look, we have to realize, science tells us there's only one life. They call it energy, right? Energy is everywhere. Can't be created, can't be destroyed. We're just made out of electrons. Christian Bible and most religions tell us there's only one life, God. God is omnipresent. What does that mean? God is everywhere. That means there's nowhere that God isn't, right? So you have God and energy. It's the same thing. And so what we are just manifestations of this one single organism. It's like the cells of your body, right? Without the cells of your body, you're nothing. So you have to work together to maintain balance. And so for me, I understand being connected to the earth, and the earth is greater than us. The universe is greater than us, and that it will do whatever it needs to maintain balance, because I believe that it has, I don't know what you want to call it, but self-healing, self-maintenance, whatever system in place. And so who knows what's really happening right now, but
and
it's
I would
interesting
agree.
you consider that.
For me, the thing, I absolutely believe the earth, nothing, I guess that's my big thing. The stakes are kind of low for the earth because I do not see human beings as beings even capable of permanently destroying earth. The only thing we're capable of doing is permanently destroying it for us. I could see it making it inhabitable to us. The thing is that the things that we look at as pollution have all made it more habitable for us. You complain about global warming, or people that do, and it's well, carbon dioxide in the air is actually what trees eat, so the earth is more lush than it's ever been. There have been fewer environmental related deaths now than ever in human history. So we've made it really good for us. Now, obviously, I have issues with some things that we do. Most of them government perpetrated. But the idea of considering human beings a virus, because with a
That's
virus,
a little harsh.
Well, but the idea is with a virus, you kill a virus, you end a virus, you don't let the virus stick around, you don't let it be a part of things, you just eradicate it. Which means we're talking to people that want to eradicate human beings. And and the thing is, I've seen this from people with Ivy League degrees at the highest levels of academic power. And it's frustrating to think of those people being thought leaders. I would rather have a million yous than any more of this person. If there's a virus on the planet, this person fits the bill to me. You just want to destroy us. I think... Sorry to get a little off topic.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think that everything and everyone is relative. We all have the potential to do good, and we all have the potential to do bad. And it's basically a matter of people who understand this, who are inclined to do good, to lead by example. Because most of us, what we do, I'm saying this from a place of love. It comes subconsciously. Most of us are not making our own decisions. Most of us are not thinking our own thoughts. Most of us are not challenging authority. And so people who know better should be doing better. They should have the courage to be out there, to be helping others, to incline more people to do good. It's like, a seesaw. You just got to move more weight over to the good side and everybody will follow.
I like seesaws. They're always my favorite thing at the playground. Liz, you've been real quiet over there today.
Yeah. I'm actually just really enjoying the conversation. It's
Well, I would enjoy you having some conversation. I'm like doing the heavy lifting over here.
I know. I hear
like
you,
I'm
I
having
hear
to be deep in the philosophical weeds. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's you love that stuff. What are you talking about?
I do, but like sometimes I need a little backup. That's why you're here.
I'm with you. I'm behind you. It's all right.
And it's nice to hear your voice, Liz.
Well,
so please speak.
Get behind me, Satan.
I didn't actually realize. Nick loves to have guests on and have me just sort of come into an interview, kind of cold turkey. So.
I do not. You just never look them up when I tell you who they are. I'm always fascinated when you come in cold turkey. I'll say that. But, I told you who the guest was. I showed your profile. What do you think? We should have him on? And you're like, yeah, whatever. And then you don't look them up. So
I did actually hear that.
So reap what you sow, I guess, is what we say here.
Well, yeah, there you go. And I was actually, it's funny because I was actually thinking about that concept because I am a gardener and, with all of this that's going on, I was looking at my collection of seeds and just the idea of planting a garden right now seemed so intentionally hopeful, just with everything that's going on, that it sort of made me think about that whole concept.
It's definitely a good time to be doing that. I wish I could, but I'm in an apartment, so. But I appreciate people that do it because it's back to nature. You get to see the cycle of life happening.
Yeah.
And you get to enjoy what you grow.
Well, there is that whole cycle, and I guess maybe that's why the concept of reaping and sowing is less commonly thought of now, just because people don't see it as much. Like we used to be a culture that was really connected to that, and I feel like a lot of that connection has been lost just because people aren't part of that process as much anymore.
Yeah, we forget how things are created, where they come from. It's like, oh, we have everything done for us. Somebody else took care of it.
So, on a more practical side of things, are you still in the San Francisco area, or are you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been here since 1984.
Not leaving anytime soon, apparently.
No, I was planning to, but I'm concerned that I might not be able to come back. Okay. So I've had to change some of my plans.
That would be we had the talk with my folks today because they live up in New York State, and I'm not sure past this week that New York will probably shut down interstate travel. So not sure how I'd get home if I wanted to. Unless they're going to hunker down here in Ohio.
There you go.
It's a good time for us to practice adaptation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you envision you're going to be doing in this new world that's happening around us?
Being a connector, what I've always been doing, but at a much larger scale, connecting people from different walks of life, connecting ideas, connecting truths, and by doing so, helping people heal. Because I feel like what drives a lot of this harmful behavior that people, show towards themselves and towards others is some sort of pain and hurt within themselves that's not being addressed. And so if I can connect people, especially global leaders, and get them to realize that we have a lot more in common than we don't, and get them to work together to realize, we're all in this together. Money is a great tool, but it's not the reason that we're here, because right now is a perfect example. There are a lot of people that have a lot of money that are being adversely affected by this.
Well, there's a lot of people that realize they don't have a lot of money anymore right now, too.
And there's also that, I talked to one of my mentors the other day and I asked him how he's doing. He's like, terrible. Who isn't? I'm like, wow.
Yeah, when that stock market does what it's going to do, if you're not one of the people that was tipped off before it happened, you realize how fake money is at times.
Yeah.
So, at least what we call money.
Yeah. Well, back to investing, because like I mentioned, I grew up really poor and I knew that I wouldn't have anyone to count on. But, now I know that's not true, but still I developed certain saving habits. And so actually in 2016, because I knew who was going to win the election, but I didn't know what was going to happen to the market. I started just slowly selling off my stocks. I'm like, I'm ahead now. So let me set some aside for a rainy day. Right. And again, anything is better than nothing. And that's like I remember I was telling you when I first started investing, I would put in only $1,000 a year. And for some people, they're like, that's not enough. But it adds up over time.
I'm saying like that's an astronomical amount to put away right now. So.
Well, today's different. I haven't put anything in the market in many years because I haven't really had an income. I've just been doing not-for-profit work and just taking care of my basic needs. But because I made these decisions earlier on, and this is really important. This is, what libertarians want to promote is people take personal responsibility for themselves. People invest in themselves. People think about prevention versus reaction, right? Addressing causes, not effects. It applies in all aspects of life. We could be better prepared for this if we had a different kind of healthcare system, if we taught different financial values, if we had more conscious capitalism, we would be in a very different situation today. And so what I'm really hoping in the future is to help lead people to be more prepared, to invest more in themselves, and part of libertarian platform is less taxes. If you give people more of their money back, then they're free to do more with them, right? Less regulations. If you take away regulations, it's easier for people to become entrepreneurs, start businesses, the free market, let the, market dictate the demand, the supply. And so actually we're seeing that right now with these, in this national emergency response, right? Like we're starting to do away with certain regulations just to help people. Like yesterday, the governor of California said that it's possible that children won't go back to school this year, until September or something. And so this is a great opportunity for people to try other ways to educate children, right? You can do online. You can, we don't all need to physically go somewhere to learn. And so I think it's a really great time to be alive because there's all this opportunity to create new businesses, new models that are more efficient, that are more affordable and more accessible for everyone. And, I really want to help kind of usher in what I'm calling like an age of reason. Like, let's all, like, we all have the capability. Let's all reason fully and correctly. Let's get our emotions out of this and let's really do what's for the greater good of all. And that always benefits us individually as well.
Well, it's not going to look past the irony of, someone who's preaching love and positivity and then the statement, let's pull our emotions out. I think what you mean is focus on the positive emotions, less on the negative emotions.
Well, I feel like she's been talking about love from a very
scientific way.
Yeah.
Apparently, we just had to read this institute.
The overlap between those two things. So I kind of feel where you.
Oh no, I get it. I just think it's funny
perspective.
I think it's going to sound weird to people listening.
No, but look, when I say I love you, that doesn't mean that I'm going to lay down and let you walk all over me. Yeah. That doesn't mean that I'm going to do something for you that you're not willing to do for yourself.
Fox talking points. Love. Fox 2's talking points, everybody.
But we have to understand that a lot of people, unfortunately, have a false idea of what love really is because, like, we learn oftentimes from our parents to put others first, right? And not ourselves first. But you got to love yourself first because you can't help others up if you haven't helped yourself up, right? Like you have to teach your children how to take care of themselves or they'll never be able to take care of themselves. You can't keep doing it for them.
I used to date a girl in college and I had a heart-to-heart with my dad because I was given I won't say I was explicitly told, I was given the impression that if I were to leave this girl, she would kill herself. And so it kind of put me in a situation where I was held hostage and forced to date someone that I was definitely no longer connecting with. And, eventually I have a conversation with my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do here. Like, this is just, I feel like I'm being held hostage. And he, he told me, like, to love somebody, you have to start with yourself first off, because you're no good to anyone if you're not sticking up for yourself. And eventually it led me to where I had to let that person go, and eventually she blamed me for why she got knocked up by her oxy dealer, but that's another story. But it was a hard lesson to take because I'm in this position where I cared about the person, but we weren't going to have a romantic relationship, and so I'm just kind of forced to be here because I feel like I'm trying to do the right thing, but what's the right thing? I don't want to hurt this person, but the best thing you can do in that situation is not perpetuate it, and it's frustrating.
And role model how to love yourself, role model boundaries, role model saying no, because people like that are the ones that need to learn how to do it as well, right? So that's really, because what you speak of, the details may be different, but I'm sure that all of us can relate to that. Being in a relationship with somebody who made their happiness and joy dependent on us. And that's giving away their own power, and it's not healthy. And if somebody doesn't want to change and they don't want to actually take personal responsibility of how they feel and how they show up in the world, it's not up to you to save them. Like, this is the hard truth of life, and this is why nature is so important. One of my mentors, he shared the story with me of like a baby and a chick in an egg before it hatches. And if you try to break that egg to help that chick out, it's going to die. It's got to be strong enough to break through its own shell, or it's not going to survive. And it's the same thing with people, that everybody has to break through their own shell. And if you force them out of that shell, it could be really detrimental to them. And unfortunately, no matter what we want, not everybody is going to break through to their own shell. And that's nature, and people have a hard time understanding this because it's not what I want, right? I want everybody to thrive. I want everybody to have peace and health and security and prosperity, but I can't give it to them. I can't do it for them. You can't either. That's something that only they can do. You can do it for yourself, to show them, to inspire them, but that's it.
I've always looked at it as an what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? An evolutionary thing. Like, I think eventually people are going to grow past the pettiness of religions and the pettiness of governments. I think that's where things will eventually end up. And I'm not saying that in a sense like they're not going to have their beliefs. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think that the idea that it's this thing that subverts everything else, I think, will eventually go away. Because it's, frankly, the only way for humanity to survive is to kind of get rid of all that crap. Because all that stuff does is create power and create reasons for us to fight. Like, at a point in history, it was for uplifting people and giving them a way to survive. I think eventually we're going to evolve past that, personally. But
I agree, but I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime.
Oh, I don't expect that at all.
And something that's helped me make peace with all that, though, is understanding that religion and government do serve a purpose that can be beneficial. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, I don't have children, but I know people that do. And if you tell children, about Santa Claus, if you behave, Santa Claus will give you gifts, whatever, right? There's a reason that story works for a child. The child isn't able to comprehend, deeper concepts. So you tell them that story, even though it's not true. And so a lot of religion, like when I study the Bible, for example, there's many different levels of interpretation. There's a lot of allegories in there, and it's written in a way for people with different levels of consciousness to understand, so that no matter who reads it, some good can come out of it. And so we have to understand that it does have its place. And I'm really careful to not take away people's beliefs from them, but only add to them and help them to reason through for themselves, because there are some people who really believe, the Bible is literal, and that's fine, but what's really important is to actually follow their beliefs, right? Like, cognitive dissonance is something I have a really hard time with. If you say you believe something, then show me through your actions. Don't just tell me, right? It should be visible. If you're Christian, by the way you behave. You don't have to tell me you're Christian. If you're generous, you don't have to tell me you're generous. Actions always speak louder than words. And so that's the thing that I care about, is that if you believe in something, really believe it, but there is value in all these holy books. They're not there for no reason. And we have to understand that people have different levels of consciousness.
You'll get no argument from me on that. Like I said, for me, I think I know historically they existed for a reason. Like sometimes you need a way to keep going when all you're doing is fighting saber-toothed tigers or whatever, or it is. That's a good way to kind of keep humanity moving. It's the stories that give it meaning. But like I said, that's why I said it's an evolutionary thing. I think eventually we will maybe evolve what they are as well. Literalism has its issues, and I think that yes, as long as you're not out trying to kill gay people, because of what a book told you, you're fine by me. We are right about that time. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Is there any last things or any places you'd like to send people? So while we have you.
Sure. I have created a website with tons of videos and original content about my story, my visions, my values. It has to do with my campaign, but really just in general, because this is so much greater than running for office. And I would appreciate people to check it out and consider it. It's Sorinne2020.com. That's SORINNE 2020.com. And there's a sign up for my newsletter, which gives people direct access to email me. So if they have comments or questions, they can access me, at least for now, pretty much any time. I'm just kind of getting started, but I have some support as well. So they'll be relaying things to me as well. But I do recommend checking it out. Everything I do, it's been not for profit. I just want to give back and help lift people up because I feel it's really necessary today.
Right on.
Awesome. We'll make sure all that gets in the show notes so people can look you up.
Thank you.
Just close your eyes. Forced to live on your knees. The media narrative bleeds. You can fight back when you can't stand. Lies justify hate in their heart. A story to set them apart. All hail the media. Raise the alarm and cry out. Don't you dare cast any doubt. Your government is gone, and you're responsible.
All right, babe. What do you think?
I mean,
What is there to think?
Yeah, I mean, no, just maybe what we needed today. Just a little Serene.
I like Serenity. Good
Yeah.
TV show, right? Or that was the movie.
The movie was Serenity. The
That's
TV
right.
show was Firefly.
Firefly.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Which did
Stay
you see?
shiny out there, guys. Stay shiny.
Which one did you see first?
Oh, I definitely saw Firefly first. I was big into the show, and then I didn't even realize it had been canceled. I just figured it was going on without me because, I didn't have cable. So I saw it and binge watched it and loved the heck out of it. And then I was assuming that, all this magic was happening and I was missing out. No, actually, they canceled it like idiots. But, it makes you... I was thinking about, shows like Firefly and Lord of the Rings and, Endgame and all these things where there's, dire, hugely dark things happening and people are finding the strength to push forward in, hoping against hope that it's going to be all right. And, it's just some of those quotes have been coming back to me these past couple days, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm keeping it kind of fairly close to the vest, a lot of what I'm feeling right now, because it's just no targets,
Yeah, I hear you.
I feel like a lot of people are frustrated, and, the libertarian response is to kind of, scream at the state. And I'm not happy with the state. I'm also not happy with multinational conglomerates that are involved with the state either, that are masquerading as free enterprises. But I suppose the thing you really don't want is those people on your hide while things are going down.
Sure.
What is it? I always come back to the that line in Silent Running. Teach children quietly, because someday sons and daughters will rise up, and when we stand still, it's not every battle is for us. So. Just maybe make it better for the people that are going to have to deal with the aftermath of this nonsense.
Here's a thought.
Best thing you can do is go and try and keep the world around you as positive and level as you can.
Yep.
Are you doing that?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that the stories that meant a lot, even though maybe you didn't understand why when you were young. They mean a lot because the people in those stories, they had a chance to give up, but they didn't because they believed there was something out there worth fighting for. So
Nice. Sauron, worth fighting for.
I think Sauron was what they were fighting against, but you know what I mean.
I mean, it depends who in that book you're talking about. I feel like those orcs were fighting for Sauron.
I think they're just fighting because they're orcs, but I don't know.
You think some people out there are just bad and they're just going to fight, huh?
No. I think they fought because they have like bloodlust. Maybe people just fight because they have power lust. But that's a whole nother conversation.
It's a no. So, all right, folks. Well, go check out peacefreaks.com. Check out the show notes. See what we've been up to. I know there's been a lot of changes in the past year, past 2 years, whatever. Maybe there's gonna be more changes. The world's gonna be changing, that's for sure.
Yep.
So I feel like we have to change with it. Send me more interesting people to talk to. Sorinne was a lot of fun. It was perhaps
cool.
not a conversation I feel like we've ever had before.
I would say not. And definitely check out those show notes, and you can find all the people that we've had on the show, and dig into them if you got some free time and you want to explore. We got some stuff you can explore there. So
if you happen to be one of those rare jobs that's just doing gangbusters right now, by all means, you can support us over at upgradetheshow.com. But I'm not expecting anything in that anytime soon because, wow. Also, I will say, if you want to learn how to do podcasting yourself, check out me and Lizzie's other podcast, Parent to Podcaster, where we kind of help people with that. If you just want to contact me one-on-one, I can help walk through the basics of it. Not a problem. Because if people are going to have a lot more time, I'd like a lot more voices out there, especially.
Sure.
And if you need the services of someone who does audio editing or production, anything like that, there's always the Mad Audio Lab, which is also me. So,
because good Lord, you could do some work.
Yeah, it's good.
That'd be great.
Gotta, yeah. I know what we're going to do. Gonna find some way to make money in all this, I hope. Yeah, seriously, though, go and I just said seriously, and my phone just popped up Siri.
Yeah, of course it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're listening to me, bitch.
I'm surprised mine didn't.
So I'm going to keep an eye on you. Yeah, you're going to be asking questions now.
Right.
So anyways, folks, thank you so much for listening, and y'all have a good one.
Yeah, now more than ever, keep it magical, and God bless you guys.
Keep it freaky. This podcast is a proud creation of the Mad Audio Lab. For more information, check out madaudiolab.com. Peace Freqs is part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out Homesteads and Homeschools, Free Markets Green Earth, Cannabis Heals Me, and This Week in Liberpods. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.